And so here we are again after so long. Now today I just want to give you a little bit of a chat about the experiences and potentials of a musician who is not a professional and has to do a day job of some kind or to earn a living, but still loves music so much that they want to carry it on, despite getting married, having children, and all the rest of it. Like a lot of people, I learnt guitar when I was young, and I thought, well, this is, you learn guitar, you get into a band, go out and do gigs in the pubs, stuff like that. I was, wise enough to realise that there was a huge potential that I wouldn't get famous or be able to make a living out of it. So away I went and did that. Got into a band, got reasonably good at guitar, got into a band and played in gigs. Over time, I got more encumbered in life, like we do. Got married, got kids and all the rest of it. But I always kept up my music. Now you can do this by organising time and thinking about other potential activities in music you can do. So when I stopped being in a band, mainly because I moved and started a whole new life, and I got a little bit despondent because I thought, oh, I'm not in a band anymore, I'll go looking for another band. What happened instead is I got involved with a very brilliant composer who asked me to come and help him in his studio, right, playing instruments, helping him compose and produce music. So there began a whole new adventure, something I never even thought about doing, or it wasn't on the on my consciousness that perhaps I could be involved in something like that. I just thought you go along, maybe write songs and stuff. Like in my band, it was an original band, so I was exposed to writing stuff and going out and playing it. But in the studio, obviously, is a whole different environment, because with only two people, and if you can play other instruments, or you can use MIDI and things, use a MIDI keyboard to trigger other instruments that you can't actually physically play. It opens up a massive amount of scope of creativity. And another thing about doing that, about doing stuff in a studio, is that you can bend it around your life. You don't have to do it on Friday or Saturday night like you might do a gig. You can fit it in as and when. So that's what I did. And in so doing, I realised how easy it is to actually come by the equipment, acquire the equipment, learn how to do it and do it at home. Now, with the way things are nowadays, the software recording platforms that you have, like Pro Tools, Ableton, Cubase, GarageBand, don't underestimate GarageBand, because GarageBand was how I got started with, like loads of people do, producing music at home. I had an old Mac that I was going to basically throw out, but it had GarageBand on it, an updated version of GarageBand. And with GarageBand, what's clever about it is, and why people underestimate it, is it's really quite sophisticated, but it's really intuitive. Anyone can use it, and that is clever, I think, because it doesn't encumber you with having to learn to actually work this stuff. It's very, very easy to use. So what you do at that point, you got your Mac, you got your GarageBand, you get a keyboard, a MIDI controller, relatively cheap. You might get one for 100 quid or thereabouts, or depending on how much you want to spend. But with that piece of hardware, comes a load of free software, like Ableton. You can get Ableton Live Lite, which is like a stripped down version of Ableton, and you could get cracking with that. You might get some, software instruments and beat makers software that comes with it. So there, you've got your recording platforms. You've got a keyboard in which you can input this information. You get another piece of gear you'll need is an interface, but again, relatively cheap. Focusrite, Durham, Behringer, quite reasonably cheap. You rig all this stuff together and away you go. You're starting to be able to produce music at home for not a huge amount of cost. And if you don't have a Mac, normal PC, again, you can buy a keyboard, get this software. It may be a bit more complicated to install it on a PC than it would be a Mac, but then it's doable, and you can do this stuff at home. So I was able to produce music with my friend at his studio, and also at home. And I've at some point down the line I converted the garage into a recording studio, and away you go. But you don't have to do that. You can just chuck it in your bedroom somewhere, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. All the things that would normally be big chunky bits of hardware are now contained within your computer, and you can bend this around your life, your busy life with your wife and your kids and your DIY and your job and everything like that. You can still keep doing your music. One of the pitfalls, though, some people can have is they like to, like me, like to play music of other people. You want to. It's not like a totally lone thing. I've done that by myself, but I prefer to be doing music with other people. Now, up until this studio stuff started, when I left the band and then just started working in the studio in my spare time, mine still had a regular job, wasn't a professional. So I began learning keyboard, so I could play reasonably well on a keyboard. And because you're in a studio, you're not having to perform in front of loads of people, and you can edit, you can retake. So even if you're not that great to start with, you can do multi-tracks to sort of get around some of your shortcomings. And then over a period of time, I started to play ukulele because I got one for my daughter, and I never had an interest in it myself. Then I picked up the ukulele because I played guitar, because I had music theory, could play the ukulele really quickly. And over time, with regard to playing with other people, I got involved with the ukulele group, and then we formed a group. There's 5 of us, and we all play together every week. And because we've got busy lives, we can arrange that time, because we're playing around each other's houses. And with this kind of thing, again, you could start branching out, playing other instruments. So I started playing a baritone ukulele, mandolin, and piano. And now that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of covers, and really learning about music on a sort of deeper level from, the tutors, from the great masters that were back there, back in the day, because we're learning their music, and in so doing, you're being instructed on how songwriting is, how musicianship is, and it just broadens everything. Now, I'm talking. All this stuff could be relevant to a really young person, or say somebody like me who still remembers when climbing frames were in playgrounds were just set in solid concrete, you know, and nobody wore helmets or anything like that, and there were still, you know, half pennies, and you know, pocket money was 10p a week, you know, and that kind of thing. I'm from that time. But so when you get to, you know, you lived half a century or so, and you still want to play music, but you just think, oh, I'm not in the scene anymore. I'm older. I haven't got the time. There are ways around it. You can meet other people, other groups. There's loads of them around. Guitar clubs, open mic nights, you know, ukulele groups, other associations where you get together with other people and play music. And a cool thing about it all is it transcends age and walk of life. You know, you can play alongside somebody that's way, you know, decades your senior or decades your junior, you know, or from anywhere else. The music brings you together. Maybe that, you know, don't feel that, you know, that after a certain point in life, because things have got really busy, and you've got a, you know, you've got a job, you've got kids, you've got a wife, you've got DIY, you've got all this stuff going on, you can still do music. And the good thing about being in a group and you're meeting every week is that it forces you, not that I really need it, but it inspires you to practice and put in time like you did when you were a teenager and you were learning. And you know, because it's so important that when you do meet up each week with these people, that you've already rehearsed your stuff, and so that you can all play well together, and it's you know, rather than just turning up and counting that meeting as the rehearsal. So yeah, that's super important. So yeah, it's really I'm doing this video just to a certain amount of people out there that perhaps in my sort of age range that just feel that there's no place for music in their life anymore because of their circumstances. But it's not necessarily the case, you know, because it isn't all about being in a band and going out and doing gigs on Friday and Saturday nights, or you know, just being sort of confined to that situation of that outlet. What I'm trying to say is, like, it doesn't matter what your commitments are, you can still have a fulfilling experience with music and progress and express yourself and all the rest of it. All right, now take care of yourself and your donkey if you sponsor one, and anyone that's close to you, and everybody.